Good evening, and welcome to the final round of Season 3 of the Simsport Racing International's GT4 Championship. And what a championship it's been. Now, in previous seasons, we've seen close battles up and down the grid. And after his walkaway performance last season, Andrew Richardson has had a fight on his hands with challenger to the crown Regan Mitchell snapping at his heels all season. But with Regan unable to attend tonight's event, Andrew Richardson does secure his hold on the Championship Cup for yet another season, and Regan clinches the second step. All eyes will be on Aaron Walker and Richard Pixley as they battle it out for the final step of the championship podium with only 4 points between them. The fighting has been equally fierce in the AM Championship, with a season-long three-way battle for the ultimate prize between Evan Yetvis, Arwen Nam, and Patrick Tractor. With Arwen also having to bow out of tonight's race, Evan Yetvis does take the AM Class trophy for Wild Things Racing. The question remains as to whether Arwen will be able to hold on to second place, or will Patrick Tractor take full advantage of the Italian's absence and gain the 38 points he needs to claim silver. Joining me in the commentary box for all the action from Indianapolis Motor Speedway is Ryan Walker. Ryan, so what's been your highlight for the season so far?
Yeah, it's a difficult question, that, because there's been so many good races. But I think for me the highlight was probably the round one at Hungary, where we had that had a great battle for the win. But I think the season in general has been great racing at every round, and it's a bit of a shame to see that the numbers are down on the light side for the last round tonight. But I guess it's with Indianapolis, I think it's a DLC track or paid content. I think it might have affected the numbers, but still, it should be a good race tonight, and around one of my favourites on the ACC platform. This Indianapolis track, it's kind of got everything about it. It's got you've got the tight twisty section after the first few corners, and then you've got the kind of like tight twisty section again in the last sector. So I think it's a technical track, and I think it'll definitely suit these GT4 cars.
Has, yeah, and it's as you said, this is a really, really interesting technical track, combined with the really quick bank, infamous banked corner. And the relatively long start-finish straight. But I think what's going to be interesting, and is definitely going to throw a cat amongst the pigeons, is the weather. So, and at the minute, there is no rain, but the track is green. And in free practice, just before we went live, there was quite a bit of rain in the practice server. So conditions like this always throw up a bit of an unknown, to see what just happens to come about. I mean, interestingly, looking at qualifying times right now, but in the halfway point of qualifying, got about 10.5 minutes left. But Andrew Richardson still sat in the pits and has not gone out to put in any laps as of yet. So, not sure what's occurring there. Seeing as he's got the championship wrapped up, he may be attempting a last to first, give us a little bit of a spectacle, or weirdly he could be waiting for the rain. Who knows?
Yeah, I think he did mention on Discord I think it was yesterday or the day before, but he did mention that he may try and attempt a last to first challenge, like you mentioned, and I think that would be it would be interesting to see how he gets on from the back if that is the case. But Indianapolis, or this layout of Indianapolis, you can make moves around here, and I think it's definitely possible that Andrew could come from the back of the grid and finish on the podium, because it's only a 50-minute race, I believe. So. But on the other hand, 50 minutes, it might seem like a long race, but on the other hand, it's more. You don't have as much time to hang around. If you want to gain positions, you've got to kind of just if you get the opportunity, you've just got to make the move. And yeah, you mentioned there was rain in practice as well. At the moment, it's still a green track, so the track won't have that much grip, and as the cars go around, the rubber will slowly start to get laid down.
Yeah, I mean, qualifying is happening on race time of the Saturday. 50-minute race will be taking part on this Sunday, so the weather could very well change between now and then. But with there only being 11 cars on track, being quite a number of overtaking opportunities around this Indianapolis circuit, and the fact that Andrew Richardson did top our practice server lap times during the 2-week break between our last rounds. And it's definitely going to be really, really good fun to watch him cut through the pack and see if he can manage that last to first challenge. So with just under 8 minutes left in qualifying, currently sitting atop our leaderboard is Richard Pixley with a 1:44.5. As I mentioned in my intro, Richard Pixley, with Aaron Walker not being here this evening either, Richard has just got to put in a clean, decent performance, and he should be able to get that final third step of the podium for the pro class. So be good to see a multiple championship finish for the Wild Things Racing team. Obviously, with Evan Yetvis taking the top step of AM class for Wild Things. No doubt Denise Pope's going to be watching the all of the action this evening to see if Richard can get that third place. I've just seen in the YouTube chat, Andrew Richardson has confirmed that he is going for a last to first challenge. So he was hoping for a few more cars to be in the server to give him a bit of a challenge, but so this should be really, really fun to watch. Really, really loving this that Andrew's giving us some excitement to watch for the final race.
Yeah, that'll be great fun to watch, and I had a feeling he was going to do a last to first challenge, because I think he pretty much got the championship wrapped up, so he can just go out there and have a bit of fun. But as watched Tim Nybauer heading down to turn one, and turn one, what I've found in the past, it's one of the most difficult sections of this track, because you're tail braking into turn one, and then all of a sudden you've got to kind of position yourself for turn two straight away, because it's one of those corners that just hits you right in the face, and don't get really any time to set up for it. And I think the whole first sector is kind of one of those sectors where you never really get a chance to like breathe or take a break for a few seconds. So yes, this Indy circuit is a bit of a challenge as what's Evan Netfest coming through turn 3 and then heading up to this tricky section as well. Basically you're kind of braking and turning at the same time, and the car likes to get a bit floaty under braking.
Yeah, I mean, and with there being quite a number of direction changes under braking, not really being able to get the car settled, something that I wanted to bring up is the difference in tire degradation and tire pressure and tire temperature management now with the release of the 1.9 update that happened about 10 days ago now. So something that I definitely noticed in the MFR race that I was commentating last night, that even with the short races, tire degradation is definitely something to watch now with the new 1.9 physics. And even if the race ends up being wet, I think tire management is going to be a hot topic. It's going to be something that I think we're going to be mentioning quite a number of times, and as drivers get used to the new physics since the update.
Yeah, you mentioned the 1.9 update as well. But at some, what is it? I think we've got Rennes started in qualifying. Talking about the 1.9 update, it's unlike the 1.8 update version that. The tyres now, you can't really. It's not like before where you could just go flat out all the time. You've got to be. I guess you've got conservative. Conservative would be the right word for the tyres.
Yeah, I mean, some of the interviews that I've been watching and some of the streams that I've been watching from some of the Kunos development team is that they wanted then this simulator to be as close to real life as possible, and the idea of real life racing drivers being able to just go flat out and not worry about tire degradation all that much wasn't really very, very realistic. So I love the fact that they are paying so much attention to things like the effect of tire temperature on tire degradation. I think that's a really, really key change between 1.8 and 1.9. But I also like the fact that the tire pressures don't have to be quite so laser accurate. That there's a little bit of play, and being able to adjust the pressures that you want to use in order to affect either being able to go quicker or making your tires last longer. And it is kind of that decision between the two that I think is ultimately going to play out into overall strategies. Obviously, then this race being one of our 50-minute sprint races, there are no mandatory pit stops, and there is a 6-tire limit set, a tire set limit, I should say. But obviously that's not going to have an effect if the main race is actually wet, which we are forecasting that it's going to be. So those 6 tires aren't really going to play too much of a problem. But with no mandatory pit stops, unless somebody has a whole lot of damage, they're not going to want to pit to change tires, change pressures, anything like that. So tire degradation could play a factor towards the end of the race, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's one of those things as well. What do you do at the start of the race or the early stages of the race? Do you start pushing straight away, or do you maybe be a little bit cautious and just be smooth on your tires and try and look after them as much as possible, and then towards the end of the race, you've got some of your tire life left in the tires, and it means you can push towards the end while everyone else is maybe having to tiptoe.
Yeah, and and especially if the conditions for the main race are going to be changeable, that's also going to throw another cat amongst the pigeons. And it's one thing to enter into a race that is going to be wet for the entire period. That's fine. You can plan for that. But if the drivers end up sat on the starting grid, and the weather prediction for the next 30 minutes is changeable, what do you do? Do you bias towards then the wet? Do you bias towards then the dry? Take a gamble. So it all makes it very, very interesting, and plays so much into the strategy and mental side of sim racing, I think, which and I think is great that the Kunos developers have gotten that so close to what it's really like in a real world motorsport event.
Yeah, and I had a quick look at the track state as well, and it says the track state's fast, so it looks like we're starting on a drying track. But as we saw, towards the end of qualifying, the rain might make basically make another visit at some point during the race.
Yeah, I mean, the weather predictor only goes up as far as the next 30 minutes. This is a 50-minute race. Practice servers during the week have, shown some wet conditions. So, I think this is almost the most stressful situation for drivers sat on the grid. There's no rain in the immediate forecast, but there is a really, really good chance it's going to come. When we could start the race and within 10 minutes, that 30-minute weather forecast could say it's going to be chucking it down. Then what do you do? So, yeah, then this is what makes things really, really interesting for changeable condition racing like this. And I think really shows the good drivers from the great drivers, the ones that can adapt to changing conditions on the fly without necessarily needing to pit. So, yeah, this is going to be fun. I think we've got lots to look at and review how drivers react to changeable conditions. This last to first challenge with Andrew Richardson, how far up the grid is he going to get? Everybody watching on YouTube, I'd like to hear your predictions. Then, do you think Andrew Richardson is going to make it to first place by the end of the race? And if not, where do you think he's going to place? We will leave that question within the YouTube chat, and we'll just have a quick rundown through the starting order. So, on row 1, you've got Richard Pixley, followed alongside by Patrick Tractor. Row 2, we've got Luke Pound lining up alongside Frank Hopp. Then we've got Daniel Higgins against Nick Vargas. Then Evan Yepvis lines up alongside Tim Nybor. Dennis Berkman alongside Michael Taylor. And Andrew Richardson starting at the very back. All on his lesson on row number 6. So Ryan, what's your prediction? Do you think Andrew Richardson is going to get all the way through the grid up to P1?
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how he gets on from the back. But I think I don't know if he can come through and take the win. But finishing on the podium, podium position, I would probably say he'll finish in. I think he'll finish in second. I think Richard Pixley, if he doesn't have any issues, I think it'll be a hard job for Andrew to catch him. But you never know, that the rain could throw a bit of a spanner in the works.
Yeah, I think. Then this is a tough one, because I know both Andrew Richardson and Richard Pixley are very, very good in the wet. Porsche possibly has a little bit of an advantage here, maybe. So I think it's going to be a battle between Richard Pixley and Andrew Richardson for the win, and I think it's going to be too close to call between the two of them. But Patrick Tractor, gotta give a shout out to him as AM driver, qualifying in P2. Fantastic showing for Patrick out tonight. So really, really great time for him in the Alpine. Indeed,
yeah. He also, Baz Van Melle says in the chat as well that the Porsche is strong, and I think that's a strong point as well for the Porsche came in the wet. As I think with the rear that engine being the rear end, it definitely helps with traction in the wet.
It does, but only time will tell. One of the great things that I love about motorsport racing, it is completely and utterly unpredictable. So who knows what the next 50 minutes are going to bring, as when we start the initial formation lap. Currently the track is showing as fast. So as we can see, everyone working really hard to get those tires up to temperature. One thing that I've found in the since the 1.9 update, it's a little bit easier to get temperature into the tires. It's keeping it there that seems to be the challenge. Now, I've not driven the GT4s in the 1.9 update yet, but if GT3s are anything to go by, yeah, keeping tire temperature is going to be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when when the track's pretty much, well, not really got any rubber on it. I think that'll definitely help with keeping the tyres up to temperature, or trying to get some temperature in the tyres. As you see some of the drivers trying to weave around, trying to get some heat and temperature into the tyres. But this is the thing as well. I think most of these drivers might be slightly not nervous, I would say, but maybe kind of just still deciding what strategy to go with. If it does start raining, it's one of those things that if you've got a strategy in mind, that can, as soon as the rain arrives, that can just pretty much go up in smoke.
Yeah, and one of the other things to consider is that depending on how late the rain comes, the track may not get too full wet. And something that I've certainly noticed is that wet conditions can still be very, very variable. You can have a little bit of wet, very, very wet, flooded, and everything in between. But the track still lists as being wet, doesn't really show too much variation in degrees of wet. But that can have a dramatic effect on the handling and overall pace. So definitely going to be interesting to watch. I think we're definitely going to be keeping one eye on Andrew Richardson, another eye on the weather, and certainly keeping an eye on both Richard Pixley's and Patrick Tractor's finishing place, to see whether they get the third places in their respective championships. As we are just over the start-finish line, and we start our final race of the season, and everyone looks like they've gotten away nice and cleanly. Just coming into the first braking zone for turn one, that heavy, sharp 90-degree right-hander. A couple of people going in a little bit wide, but everyone looks like they are being nice and sensible, playing the long game.
Indeed, it was like a couple of cars went off slightly out in turn one. It's such an easy thing to do because you're going really quickly, and all of a sudden you're having to basically slow down real quickly as well. As it looks like just watching Richardson at the moment, it looks like he's gained 2 positions now. Actually, take that back. He's got 3 positions now. So Andrew's not hanging around by any means. But as I say that, he's getting a bit swamped there. But this is a section where it's nice and wide, so. Yeah, thankfully everyone makes it through, but Andrew Richardson 3 positions already, and they definitely not wasting any time.
Yeah, definitely not. But then there is a gap starting to form already between P4 and P5. Then Daniel Higgins just starting to drop off the back of Nick Vargas. So once Richardson gets up to this mid part of the pack, he's going to have a bit of time to catch up, to get up to the front runners. But Richard Pixley and Patrick Tractor doing very well up front. Pixley got a lovely gap on already, 1.2 seconds, so he can pretty much just settle down and concentrate on his race, and can keep dreaming about that third place pro position.
Indeed, and it looks like Andy Richardson coming across the start-finish line might pick up another position to turn one if he can maybe just dive up that, as he does dive up the inside, and needs to get it slowed down and hit the apex, and once he does, and Andrew Richardson, amazingly, it's only the end of lap 1 heading into lap 2, and Richardson's pretty much up 4 positions already.
Yeah, is all over the back of Evan Yepvis to get up into P6, obviously, and Evan Yepvis Oh, as that was Tim Nybor. It looks like he completely and totally missed his braking zone, coming out of turn 6, I believe. Thankfully, there's quite a bit of runoff there, so he was able to get away with it. But that has lost him quite a bit of time.
Yeah, so that's it. What was it? I was going to say, it's like Richardson's picked up another position now from Netvis, and yeah.
No doubt, Evan would have seen that move coming in a mile off, and was able to get cleanly out of Andrew's way, and doing his best to keep on the back of Andrew, try and pick up a little bit of a slipstream and get him to pull him along.
Yeah, so Richardson's up to, well, pretty much picked up another position there, and already pretty much up into the top 6. And as you said there, Sam, there's a bit of a gap up ahead of him now, but I have no doubt that Andrew will close that gap down as they head down to turn 1. And it looks like Evan doesn't really need to do anything, because it's, but you mentioned at the start of the broadcast as well, he's already got that ARM Championship pretty much wrapped up, so it's just a case of him finishing. But I think he'll want to finish well in the ARM class and round off a good season, and for the Wild Fins Racing driver. And it looks like he might be under a bit of pressure now from Luke Pine behind him. As I say that, Evan goes wide.
Oh. Yeah, makes the move very, very easy for Luke Pound there to get through and up into P8. Not seen too much of Luke Pound through this championship, and I think he's a newcomer, just tacking on to the end of the season to get some experience with SSRI. No doubt we will hopefully see him in some of our upcoming championships that we're going to give you all of the inside scoop on at the end of this race. But while we've been watching Luke Pound and Andrew Richardson, Richard Pixley up in the front, getting himself a nice healthy lead, and also taking fastest lap away from Andrew Richardson. That fastest lap's now sitting at a 1:45.6 over Andrew Richardson's best time of a 1:46.6, which also happened to be his last lap as well. So cutting through the traffic is definitely holding Andrew up a little bit, but he's definitely making some progress and has already cut that gap to Daniel Higgins down in about half.
Yeah, indeed. As looking at Patrick Tractor coming through turn 1 and 2, and heading up to about turn 4 now, and yeah, so it's a tricky corner because you're braking and turning at the same time. But I think Richard is pretty much just pushing as much as possible to try and build up a bit of a gap. And so if Andrew does get up into second place before the end of the race, it means he's got a comfortable gap, but he doesn't have to worry about him. But as we ride on board with Tractor at the moment, and yeah, just in front of him you've got a Hop in front of him as well. So yeah, Patrick Tractor having a good race so far. The highest ARM driver at the moment, in third place.
Yeah, and he's got quite a gap back to Evan Yetvis, being in P2 and then the AM class. Patrick Tractor definitely going to be keen on keeping as many points as he possibly can. He needs 38, I believe, if my maths are correct, and that's questionable. But from the calculations that I did this afternoon, he needs 38 points to be able to claim the silver position in AM away from Arwen Nam, who's unable to attend this evening. Winning in his class is going to get him 50 points, so that is definitely going to be everything that he's going to need. So yeah, Patrick doing a great job up at the sharp end of the grid, mixing it up with the pro drivers. So great to see.
Indeed, and no doubt with no doubt being up there and having good pace at the moment, and being in third place overall. And I think if he keeps it up, I've got a sneaky feeling he might get promoted to the pro class for next season.
Yeah, and while we've been discussing Patrick Tractor, Andrew Richardson has closed up the gap to Daniel Higgins. That gap now 0.3 of a second. So Andrew putting all kinds of pressure on to Daniel to get past it. It is Porsche against Porsche, but we know how quick Andrew Richardson can be with this car. And he goes for then the late break, manages then to get the job done easily as you like. Just sails past and Abelston to get the car pulled up in plenty of time to make the apex as well. So a fantastic move. Andrew Richardson now up into P5.
Yeah, great drive by him so far. It's only. We're only was it basically pretty much coming to the end of lap 4, and Richardson up into the top 5 already, and the next car in front of him is Vargas in front of him. So I don't think it'll be too long before Andrew takes another position and moves into 4th place. And this is probably the trickiest corner here because you're basically flat, but the left side tyres and that long right hander takes such a beating. Especially the left front as they come across the line now to complete another lap. And will Richardson try and throw it up the inside into turn 1? I don't think he does. As I take that back, he looks like he was trying to throw it up the inside, but maybe trying to play a bit of the mind games of Vargas, and it seems to have worked.
Yeah, so it's definitely unsettled Nick quite a bit, and made him just concentrate a little bit too much on looking behind him, missed his braking point, and ended up going wide. So Andrew Richardson pressuring his way into P4. But while we've been watching all the action from Andrew Richardson, I've noticed that Practice Tractor has gotten a move made on Frank Hopp to get himself back up into P2. So it would be nice if I can call on our friendly camera guys to see if they can find where that overtake happened, and see if we can get a replay for you. Oh, Richard Pixley sitting quite happily up in P1, still holding on to that fastest lap. Currently about 4 seconds up the road from Patrick Tractor, who we're on board with and at the minute. So Richard Pixley, not too sure if he's aware of Andrew Richardson slicing his way through the field, or whether if he's even aware that Andrew is attempting a last first. Be interesting to have a chat with these guys after the race to see if Richard is aware of what's going on, thinking about it, and we now have this replay for you of the overtake between Patrick Tractor and Frank Hopp.
Yeah, so I wonder if Frank's maybe just ran wide slightly, as he looks fine here, and I think he maybe. Well, yeah. Frank definitely ran wide there. It's such an easy mistake to do in that to do there, because you're just breaking. I find anyway that corner it invites you to try and carry more speed, but the only downside is if you try and do that, you'll just end up running wide, and unfortunately Frank found that out.
Yeah, I mean, then pretty much the entire first sector here at Indianapolis that cuts through the middle of the oval speedway is very, very technical, but it's completely flat. It was never initially designed as a racing circuit. Then the organizers at Indianapolis kind of added it into the middle of the infield as a very, very late addition, I believe. Then that this infield section was only added in sort of the late 60s. So it's all going to be, pretty flat, very, very, very little camber to speak of. And they've just utilized, in existing roads that were already part of the complex, as we can see from this lovely overhead shot that we've got of the Indianapolis Speedway. That they've just made use of the land that was available and just decided, okay, well, we shall cut our lovely oval circuit in half, throw some squiggly bits in there, and see if we can have different forms of motor racing here. Those of you who are into American racing, this is the home of NASCAR. They only know how to turn right. So throwing some corners in there is something that is pretty new and novel for the Americans, but definitely makes it quite fun.
Yeah, it does indeed, and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is a home to the most what is it they call it in America, the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis 500, which takes place later this month in real life.
Yeah, an absolutely fantastic race. Just for the atmosphere, and it reminds me of the similar sort of atmosphere that you get at a 24-hour of Nürburgring, where was it when Andrew Richardson just breezed by Frank Hopp getting a fantastic exit out of turn 8, I believe, onto then the back straight. Just before the couple of twisties before they come onto the main oval, just drives by Frank Hopp as if he wasn't really there. So Andrew Richardson up to P3 after only 8 laps.
Yeah, Andrew Richardson up to P3 already. It's quite quick. I thought it would have taken him longer to get through the field, but he's making it look like a Sunday drive.
And he is, yeah, and when we've still got 35 minutes of this race left. Looking up at the weather, though, rain is coming in 30, so it is going to be that question of how wet is the track going to get before then the end of the race. We're probably only going to have maybe 5 minutes of rain, and it looks like fairly light rain as well. So it's going to make then the last few laps of this race very, very interesting. There's going to be a good 45 minutes worth of rubber laid down. Throw some water onto that, and this track is going to get slick as you like. Plus, also, then everyone's tires are going to start feeling then the pain a little bit. For 40 minutes of running, more than likely a lot of these drivers are running slightly compromised setups. If they were banking on rain, setups are probably going to be tweaked a little bit to make them a little bit easier to handle in the wet, but it means they're not going to be quite as ideal for the dry running that we've had for the majority of this race. So it's going to be interesting. Indeed,
and it's a question as well if it starts raining within the last 5 minutes, or the last 5 minutes. What do you? I think it wouldn't surprise me if most of these drivers try and stay out and risk it. But the only downside is how heavy is the rain going to be?
I mean, and at the minute, then that rain is looking to be quite light. It could change. I would be very, very surprised if anybody comes in for wet tires with only 5, even 10 minutes left in the race. I would expect most of these drivers to hang it out and hope for the best. Probably wind the traction control up as much as possible, and just take it easy, and not push things too hard. But these are racing drivers, and after all, the idea of not pushing, not going for an overtake. I can't remember who said it now, but if you don't go for a move, you're not a racing driver anymore. Might have actually been Mario Andretti, actually, come to think of it.
Yeah, I seem to remember. I think I remember Mario Andretti was saying that as well. If you don't, or something like that, is if you don't clip the wall, or you're not close to the wall, you're not pushing hard enough.
Yeah.
What's this? Probably one of my. I know some people are a bit iffy on the racing driver quotes, especially when it comes to Ayrton Senna. But Mario Andretti's quote when he raced and when he used to race in real life, it's probably one of the best ones that sticks in my mind.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, as we've got Bas van Millis in the YouTube chat predicting that our last 2 laps are going to be in the rain. So it's definitely going to make things for a spicy finish to the race, spicy finish to the championship and as well. So makes for a fitting end to this GT4 season, and definitely looking forward to all of the exciting races that we're going to be telling you about at the end of the program, to fill in the time until our next set of GT3 and GT4 seasons, which I don't believe we have dates for yet, but is definitely going to be coming. And just taking in a look on board with Frank Team Hopasa in the 217 McLaren there, sitting in P4. Doing a really good job, trying to hold on to the back of Andrew Richardson. But Richardson has managed to pull quite a considerable gap on Frank Hopp now, and is now under a second back from our current AM leader, Patrick Tractor. Looks like is not going to be close enough to make a move into turn 1, but I would suspect that by the latter half of this lap, that Andrew Richardson is going to be close enough to start making Patrick a little bit nervous. But Patrick, no doubt thinking about the wider championship. I don't know if he's going to fight in the position too much. I know if it were me, I would think that this is a fight not worth fighting too much for. I'd be more concerned about keeping my car in one piece, pointed in the straight and narrow, and focusing on the overall championship. So I would anticipate this to be a relatively easy pass for Andrew once he gets close enough.
Indeed, I think. But if I was Patrick, I would maybe think of the bigger picture, and also he's leading the AM class. So I think there's no point in making a big fight of it, like you say. So I think if Andrew gets a run, I think Patrick won't put up too much of a fight. It's always like, is Andrew going to go for a? No, he's not. I thought he was going to go for a move. I thought if he did, it would have been a bit of a risky move to make. But I think Andrew's maybe waiting to get a run in the home straight as he takes a late apex into the second to last corner, try and carry that momentum and get in the power early. And it looks like Andrew might get a good run down the home straight, but I don't know, is he going to be close enough? But as I say that, he's getting closer in the slipstream, but I don't think he's going to be close to make a move into turn 1. It'll be a bit risky if he does go for it. And is he good to go for it? Yeah, actually, he is going for it.
Yep.
And
tries to get it done on the brakes, but doesn't quite manage it. Patrick Tractor proving us both wrong, and letting Andrew Richardson know that, if you want the position, you're going to have to take it.
Yeah, and credit to Patrick as well. He left just enough room for both of them to make it through turn 1, and when he could have turned in and possibly risked both of them being wiped out. But yeah, I thought Patrick would have made a big deal of trying to keep the position, but I have to say that Alpine in a straight line is actually pretty quick.
Yeah, definitely, and and all of this is going to be eating into the time that he's got to catch up to the back of Richard Pixley. And as we've seen, many times in the past, catching up to the back of a driver is one thing, overtaking is something completely different. And when Richard Pixley, very, very good, accomplished driver, it's not going to make things easy for Andrew once he gets then this move done. So I think we're going to be in for a spicy few laps towards the end of this race, and then I think that this is not going to be quite the as easy. Quite as easily done as Andrew Richardson may have initially hoped. Once he does get up to then the back of Richard Pixley, but he's got to pass Patrick Tracterton to begin with, and Patrick Tractor doing a fantastic job of keeping the pro champion behind at bay, and doing a very, very good job of keeping it clean as well.
Yeah. Patrick runs wide as well, and it looks like that's going to give Andrew the opportunity to make a move up that side, but they're still side by side, and Patrick eventually decides to back out of it and not put up too much of a fight. And as I say, that Andrew Richardson runs wide a little bit, a little bit, but bit of contact.
And luckily that contact was looked like it was fairly straight on to the back, hasn't unsettled either of them. So Andrew Richardson through up into P2. He now has 5.5 second gap to Richard Pixley, and I'm certainly going to be keeping an eye on their lap times. So Pixley's last lap was a 1:45.6, and Richardson obviously having that battle with Patrick. His last lap was at 1:46.0. In terms of overall best lap time, Richardson has managed to get that fastest lap back with a 1:44.5 compared to Pixley's best time of a 1:44.8. So it is marginal. I think it's going to take a couple of laps for Andrew Richardson to get that gap down. Something else to consider is that when with all of this overtaking and battling that Andrew Richardson has had to do to cut through the field, the question is what state are his tires going to be in?
Yeah, that's the question indeed. I mean, Richardson's been pretty much pushing since the start of the race, trying to get through the field as quickly as possible, and I think Pixley might just be keeping up the pace, but I don't think he's been as aggressive on his tyres. He's just been looking after them all. But I wonder if Richardson can close that gap down to Pixley. What's the gap now is about just under 6 seconds. So it's a good question. Can Richardson close that gap down, or will he run out of time? I think if Pixley can keep this gap, they will be pretty much just about 24 minutes remaining in the race, and if he can keep that gap for the final 5 minutes where the rain is predicted to arrive, I think that might just save Pixley's race.
It might do, yes. I mean, and obviously, while we've been on air, the track has moved from fast to optimum. So this is then the best time to try and get as quick lap times as you possibly can. But the downside is that they've got 20 minutes worth of tire degradation on those cars. Flip side, and again, is there 20 minutes less fuel, so it is going to be quite a lot of swings and roundabouts. I think everyone is going to be keeping an eye on then that rain. The predictor now is when the rain swaps over to the 20-minute mark. That's when people can start to really get some idea as to how soon the rain's going to be, how many laps we're going to have under rainy conditions, and mentally preparing for a very, very slippery finish to the race.
Indeed, what's a battle of what's a battle further back in the field with Pound, and it looks like Hop as well. So yeah, not just a battle going on at the front. We've also got this battle for P4 and P5, and just even though the field spread out slightly, there's still some good racing going on, and I think I think just checking the pace of Pixley and Richardson as well, and it looks like they're pretty much both evenly matched at the moment. So unless Pixley makes a mistake, I think Pixley just needs to maintain that gap at the moment. Is just under 22 minutes left in this race, and it looks like Pound's trying to make a move into the final few corners, but just not close enough to get it done. I think if he can try and get back in the power here and try and carry that momentum through its long right-hander, he might be able to try and make a move down the home straight. And the Aston Martin has got some good grunt down the straight, and it looks like he might be able to try and make a move down the home straight, but it's a case of can he close up in the slipstream before turn one, and I don't think he's going to be close enough this time around.
No, but Jane, just taking a look at the current championship points going into this race, this position for Frank Hop currently sat in a tied P6 with Nikolai Schroeder, but with Nikolai Schroeder and Bas van Millis not being in the race this evening, this current position for Frank Hop could end up getting him a good couple of positions in the championship. This could boost him up, possibly even as far as P5, maybe even P4, if he's able to hold on to this position with a Gates-Luke Pound. But Luke definitely putting all of the pressure on, and then this will be a difficult ask for Frankton to keep this P3 in class position for another 20 minutes, especially when at some point in that 20 minutes we're going to start seeing rain.
Indeed, and I think if the rain's only going to be light, I think most drivers are probably trying to stay out. I mean, if it's just light rain, I don't expect the track to maybe fall off too much. I think especially since there'll be a little bit of rubber on the track, but with the rain, when you get the rain as well, the rubber will probably pretty much just get washed away. So the final 5 minutes, it'll just be a game of tippy-toe around the track, and just watching the gap back up at the front between Pixley and Richardson, and that gap's down to about 4.3 seconds now.
It is. I've been keeping an eye on the respective lap times between Pixley and Richardson, and Richardson was not holding back. His last lap was a 1:44.9 compared to Pixley's 1:45.1. So Richardson definitely eating into that lead lap by lap. With 19 minutes to go, and being anywhere between sort of 3 to 5 tenths lap time difference, and I think then this battle is going to come to a head pretty much at the same time that the rain's going to start. So this is going to get interesting very, very quickly. I'm anticipating the weather forecast up at the top right hand of your screen to switch over in probably about 3 to 4 minutes is when I think we'll see that rain move into the 10-minute window, and drivers will start thinking about what minor electronics and setup changes they can make within the cockpit to things such as traction control and ABS, just to make sure that those cars are handleable when the track conditions start to change.
Indeed, and as we look back at Richardson, and I wonder if I was wondering if Richardson maybe used up his tyres trying to get through the field as quickly as possible. But I think I take that back. I think Pixley's maybe the one that's used up all his tyres trying to build up that gap, and because I've watched him a few times now, and exit of some of these corners, especially the slow speed corners, getting on the power. He's been struggling for traction a little bit, so I think Pixley's maybe the one that's actually used his tyres up, and Richardson's maybe just been a little bit more smoother, a little bit more gentle on his tyres.
I mean, so something else to consider is that Richardson, it didn't really have anything to worry about coming into this race. He had already gotten secured in his championship win. Pixley, on the other hand, did have a lot to fight for. He is trying to get that P3 in class with Aaron Walker not being in the race this evening. So I'm wondering if potentially Richard Pixley might have gone a little bit safer on the setup, potentially erring on the side of caution and going for a slightly hybrid setup, just in case then the rain was a lot more than just the last few minutes, and that might have been compromising his tires a little bit. Be interesting to find out if that's the case when we get to the post-race interviews. Yep,
there's just been told rain expected in the next 10 minutes. So I wonder if some of these drivers, especially Pixel and Richardson, I wonder if they've got anyone that's talking to them on something like Discord and letting them know when the rains plan to arrive. Plan to arrive at some point.
Yeah, no doubt. These guys will have somebody in their ear while watching the stream, and even if they don't, these are they're both very, very experienced drivers. They're going to be keeping an eye on the weather. So when that rain clicked over to the 10-minute mark, I think we just had a little bit over 6 minutes, I think, will be run in the wet. So probably about 4 or 5 laps, I think, will be run under wet conditions. The interesting thing is going to be that rain is scheduled to be light. Is then those 4 or 5 laps going to be enough for then the track to get fully wet or not? We may end up just being on a greasy track or maybe even damp. So yeah, it's all going to be very, very interesting. And we're just continuing to watch then this battle with Luke Pound and Frank Hopp, and Frank doing a fantastic job to keep Luke behind. Luke doing everything he can, putting on all kinds of pressure onto Frank Hopp to try and get him to force him into making a mistake, but Frank's keeping his cool and positioning the car really, really well, not endangering either of them, and they're both doing an excellent job.
Yeah, indeed, it's been a good battle between both these drivers, and going back to the track being greasy, I think if it's a greasy track and it's not heavy rain, or it's maybe just the slight drizzle and it's a greasy track, I think slick tyres on a greasy track are okay, but you've got to be very, very careful and not push too much. So you've kind of got to tippy-toe around and be very, very careful of the throttle and steering inputs.
Yeah, I mean, then these drivers are at a level that, they're going to be aware that the changing conditions are coming. They're going to be, mentally preparing for, traction is going to start dropping off. Tire temperature is going to, practically fall off a cliff, and as soon as then the rain starts falling. The track temperature, and quite warm, 26 ambient and 32 on the track itself, but that is going to drop very, very quickly as soon as then the rain comes. So that's going to affect handling. It's going to affect grip. But just looking forward to then the gap between Richard Pixley and Andrew Richardson. They're now in sight of each other. Richard Pixley definitely is going to be aware that Richardson is there. Richardson likewise got his target in sight, and with there being about 12 minutes left in this race, their lap times, they're about Richardson is about half a second and a lap quicker. So I think within about 4 laps, Richardson, if he maintains then this pace, and Pixley maintains his pace, I think then they're going to be nose to tail within about 3 or 4 laps, and like I said, just in time for the rain to start.
Indeed, and rider on board with Richardson at the moment is you can see right there the Pixley's right in front of him, and yeah, Andrew's done a great job of getting front and back of the grid up into second place now, and I think at this stage as well, I think Richardson, just looking at his pace, I think he seems to have that better pace at the moment, and just slightly quicker than Pixley at the moment, and I think overall, I think Andrew probably just feels a little bit more comfortable as well, and I think Pixley as well, maybe just on the pace, but maybe just not able to extract that pace out like Richardson can. As looking back at the battle for P4 and P5 between Hop and Pound as well, it's still going on, but it looks like they just can't get close enough to make a move.
Yeah, and I foresee then this battle continuing through then the rest of the race as we just look a little bit further back. Nick Vargas has caught up to the back of Daniel Higgins. So then this battle has been brewing for a couple of laps now. Nick Vargas been just consistently taking time out of Daniel Higgins, but again, both drivers doing really well to keep then the pressure on, but at then the same time keeping it nice and clean as well. As we jump back up to the front, that gap now down to under a second. So Andrew Richardson, he's got 10 minutes to get then this job done, but he's got to be aware that the rain is coming, and I'm wondering if he's thinking, I've got to get this move done before the rain hits, and I would predict that the rain is probably, I think he's probably got about 3.5 minutes before then the rain starts. So he's got his work cut out for him as Nick Vargas just tries to going up then the inside of Daniel Higgins. Both of them giving each other plenty of space and respect. But it looks like that this job is going to be done coming up onto the banking, as there's just a little bit of contact between then Nick and Daniel Higgins, but I think Nick has no, sorry, I think Daniel has managed to keep this position.
Indeed, and I think I agree with that regarding Richardson as well. I think he's definitely pushing a lot more now, trying to get the move done before the rain arrives, and good battle between both these cars as well. Vargas, it looked like he'd gained the position, but he's lost it again to Higgins, and good respectful racing between both these drivers. And I think if Nick can try and maybe try and get close to Higgins again and try and maybe get a good exit here on the exit of this right-hander that we're coming up to now, if he can try and get on the power early and carry that momentum, he might be able to make a move. But the battle for the lead is still close together between Pixley and Richardson, and I think if I'm Richardson, and I can get close enough across the home straight or down the home straight, I think I would try and make a move into turn 1 and try and get the move done.
Yeah, Richardson is pushing. You can see, little clouds then of dust and dirt being kicked up as he's trying to make use of all of the track, tucking in bin behind Pixley down the start-finish straight. Don't know if he's going to be close enough. I mean, and he's been brave on the brakes whenever he's done a move into here, but Pixley, well aware of that, is able to brake just as late, both of them making then the apex beautifully. So then this is something that, you know, when we've mentioned time and again, catching up to a driver is one thing, passing is something completely different, and Pixley is not going to be quite as easily spooked as some of the lesser experienced drivers in the field that Richardson has had an easier time passing. But time is ticking down. Just coming up to 6.5 minutes left in the race. This is roughly where we predicted the rain to come, as Pixley goes just a little bit wide, but manages to keep the position. And as I said, here comes the rain.
And this is what I was talking about before. This might just be the thing that Pixley needs to save his race and maybe stay out in the lead. And I think, as I say, that Richardson's trying to make a move and trying to distract Pixley, and this is going to be a game of Zali. What was this? Oh, I thought Richardson was going to dive up the inside there. This is going to be a game of tiptoe chess now. Or tiptoe chicken. Who can if both of them try to hold the position, or if Richardson tries to or go for the move. I think Pixley might try and play chicken and try and hold the position by braking slightly later, but in the rain, that's a bit risky.
It is, and I've just been, keeping an eye on the track conditions. It has very, very quickly changed from optimum to fast to greasy within half a lap. So conditions out there changing very, very rapidly. So I think this is going to be decided between who can adapt the quickest, alter their braking zones the quickest. And then, as I say that, Richardson just gets a little bit of a nose up the inside, forces Pixley wide, and that appears to be job done. Where hopefully Richard Pixley can keep on the back of Richardson, but as it stands at the minute, 5 minutes left in this race, Richardson has managed a last to first.
Yeah, and I was thinking, I wonder if I was kind of doubting that Richardson could get up to the front in 50 minutes, but credit to him, he's done a good job getting through the field, and he's took advantage and up into the lead and starting to pull a bit of a gap to Pixley now. And yeah, credit to Pixley as well. It's been a valiant effort, and as I say that, it was like Hops went off the track as well. Just been caught out of the way, and yeah, that was so unfortunate because that was a great battle between both of them.
It was, yeah. But I'd like to see if we can get a little bit of a replay to see if there was any contact there, or if Frank Hopp just managed to get a tire onto the grass or onto the painted curb and just unsettled the back end just a little bit. But as while we wait for that, just taking a look on board with this battle between Nick Vargas and Daniel Higgins. Daniel Higgins managed to keep the position a little bit. Have I just seen Luke Pound go into the pits? Luke Pound is currently in the pits.
So I wonder if Pound is not. I was going to say, surely you wouldn't dive in for wet tyres at this stage of the race with about 3 minutes 20 left. Unless, as Vargas goes wide in turn 1 and manages to just save it.
Yeah, I mean, these conditions, they are treacherous. Let's not, kid ourselves. It is difficult to keep a car in the straight and narrow in these conditions, but yeah. Frank Hopgen just doesn't get the car slowed down quite quite enough, and just sails out into then the grass, but does a really good job to get the car collected, especially on wet grass, and gets back into then the race very quickly. But track conditions still showing in as being damp, so it's not impossible to keep a car on facing the right way, but it also depends on how experienced Luke Pound is with driving in the wet. We've not seen him too much, certainly in this championship before, so may just be wanting to be safe than sorry. He is coming in late in the championship. He may be thinking, I don't really want to compromise anybody else's race with being and unsafe on wet tires or dry tires in wet conditions. Who knows? As we come back on board with Luke Pound, and it's kind of hard to tell from the outboard whether he is on wet tires or not. But yeah, Frank up, and after then that little bit of excursion into then the grass, has been gifted back the P3 position in Pro.
Indeed, and I think if Pounds dived into the pits, if not for wet tires, the only other reason I can think of is maybe he's maybe slightly underfueled, and but yeah,
that's a potential. It could have been a splash and dash, when it didn't look to see how long he was in the pits. I mean, then his last lap was a 2:44, so potentially long enough for a tire change. Possibly a little bit long for a splash and dash, but who knows? Track still showing in as damp, with 30 seconds left, so don't know if the just as I was about to say, I don't think if the track was going to get to wet, the track clicks over to being full wet, and as we can see from the graphics, a little bit of standing water now starting to appear on track, but pretty sure these drivers are thinking that the end of the race couldn't come fast enough. These cars are going to be an absolute handful, and at this point,
and I think this race, it might have been this race. I think Pixley might be feeling slightly frustrated. I think it's one of those races that I think he feels he could have maybe won possibly, but Richardson started at the back of the field, but again, Richardson just proving his masterclasses. Pixley struggles trying to get on the power there. As you can see, the wheel doing a bit of a wheel wiggle, trying to keep the car in control, but still, valiant effort from Pixley, but it's one of those races that's got away from him, and I think, but still, him and Richardson put on a great display. Richardson, who are right on board now, coming through this tight, twisty section here, and Richardson just needs to get it round the final few corners, and he'll take the win. And I feel it was a vote for a drive of the race. I think Andrew Richardson's pretty much put himself in contention there.
And I would definitely agree. Doing a last to first challenge in any race is, it's a big ask. You are basically putting yourself at the mercy of all of the other drivers on the track to not end up getting tangled up with them. You're competing with cars that you normally don't compete against and don't race with, and dealing with cars that are a much different pace than you. So it is very, very challenging, and I've got every admiration for Andrew Richardson. And it put on a show for us, part of me just wishes that the rain came a little bit earlier. I would love to have seen how the drivers would have dealt with slightly more changeable conditions further into the race, bringing in that question as to whether or not to pit or not. But still, fantastic finish to the season. It's been absolutely amazing watching these cars. It's been great to see Andrew Richardson win another championship, but also being pushed a little bit for that win, not having it all his own way. He has taken 4 wins out of 7, so not quite the clean sweep that he had last season. So it's been good to see him having to fight a little bit for the wins, and hopefully we will get all of the post-race and post-season reactions from our drivers shortly. So while we wait for our drivers to come into the interview room, Ryan, can you give us your reactions to that race?
Yeah, the car turnout was a little low tonight, but even though the car turnout was a little low, the racing day was still good. The battle for the lead and also the battle for P4 and P5 for what's turned into a battle for the final step on the podium was really good to watch, and I think it's a great way to round out the season. And again, Andrew Richardson pretty much proving why he's pretty much one of the drivers or the class of the field with that fantastic from last to first drive today. But it was a great battle between him and Pixley as well, and Pixley as well put on a great drive today.
And speaking of the man of the hour, Andrew Richardson, good evening, and thank you very much for a interesting final race to the season. How was that for you?
Evening, thank you. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. As I said in the chat, I decided to try last to first, and I managed to pull it off in the last 5 minutes or so. So very pleased.
So, were you praying for the rain to come sooner, or were you hoping that it was going to hold off?
I was hoping it was going to hold off. I felt like I had the pace anyway. And since the update, I've never driven in the rain on slick, so it's going into the unknown. So, I'm sure it's probably the same for everyone. But yeah, I was glad it was just the last 6 minutes or so.
Yeah, and when you decided to do the last first challenge, did you think that you were going to make it all the way through, or what were you predicting for your own finishing place?
Well, I'll say I heard you not believe in me, Ryan. But luckily for you, I didn't believe in myself. I thought Richard might have a bit more of a lead by the time I got to second, and it'd be too much work to catch him. But yeah, I think there only being 11 cars there this evening sort of helped me with that, and probably gave me the time to be able to catch up with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with the 1.9 update, how different has the car felt tonight compared to the rest of the season?
It's very different, definitely. Braking's more difficult, I find, which obviously is quite important here because there's some big braking zones. But overall, it still feels well balanced. So it still feels like a good car. It's just a very different car.
Mm-hmm. And how much practice have you gotten in the server before the race this evening?
I've done a couple of hours practicing for this race. I've done a lot more practice in GT3s, but that doesn't really translate to a GT4 even with the new update. So
No.
I think in that race my tyre pressures were probably a bit high for the new update all the way through, but then
Okay.
that probably gave me a bit of an edge when it rained at the end, so I think I got a bit lucky with that one.
Were you running a slightly compromised setup with the potential of rain coming, or were you on just a full dry setup with electronic tweaks should the rain actually come?
I went for a full dry setup, knowing that when we were going to grid it was at least half an hour dry, so it's more than half the race dry. I thought I'll just stick for full dry setup.
Excellent. And what are your plans for then the off season before we start our next GT4 championship?
Well, I'll be taking part in the SSRI endurance race Imola in a couple of weeks. And then there looks like there's some other interesting races that SSRI will be running over the summer break, so I'm sure I'll get involved with some of those, some cup cars and some multi-class racing.
Yeah, we're going to be sharing all of the details for those momentarily. But thank you very, very much for a great race, great season. Congratulations on yet another championship win, and we look forward to seeing you out on track sometime soon.
Thank you, Pam, and just a big thank you to everyone at SSRI that help organise and run these events. It's a pleasure to be a part of, and it's a pleasure to watch your streams back.
Oh, thank you very much, Andrew. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, see ya.
Richard Pixley, good evening.
Hello.
How are you?
Meh. I didn't enjoy that.
You did or you didn't?
No, I didn't enjoy that.
No.
I'm not used to the new tyre module with sort of mixed conditions yet. It's still getting used to it.
So how much practice had you been able to do on since the 1.9 update?
I don't know hours wise or time wise, but not a great deal. I haven't drove any of the new cars or the new track yet. I've just done one race, and that's about it. So I'd maybe guess overall time with races and practice maybe 3 or 4 hours, maybe 5. I'm not too sure.
Yeah. Okay. And when were you aware coming into the race that of what Andrew Richardson was planning with the last to first challenge?
To be honest, I wasn't that bothered. That's up to him. It was with the times I saw it. I didn't doubt it. The Porsche around this track, it seems, is just too good. It can do a lot more than most other cars can do.
And when were you concentrating on trying to build as much of a gap as possible before then the rain came, or were you just concentrating on your own race?
I was trying to just understand the tyres more and just do my own race, not worry about what anyone else is doing. If people overtook me, there's no a bad way of saying it is because Aaron wasn't here. As long as I finished, I would have got enough points. So I didn't really need to worry about being in front of anyone. So
yeah,
it was just more timing on the game and understanding the tyres.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So what are your plans for the off season? Anything interesting coming up for you?
You guys posted some races. I've entered the multi-classy, I think you called it, series. So me and Denise will be doing that in the GT4.
Oh, fantastic! Oh, looking forward to that.
That's it really. There's not a lot really else going on in my sim racing world, I suppose. Not enough events what I've got my eye on at the moment.
Okay. Well, when we look forward to seeing you in the new series, and obviously we look forward to you coming back for another round of GT4s. But thank you very much for joining us, coming in and having a chat, and enjoy the mid-season.
Thank you very much. Thank you all to everyone involved. Well done to Andrew for winning the championship again, and Evan on winning the AM championship. And like I said, thank you to everyone involved.
Great. And thank you very much, Richard. And finally, last but not least, Frank Hopp. How was the race for you this evening?
Well, I screwed up, I think, my tires already in the first lap.
Oh, in the first lap?
Yeah, I spun out a bit and that didn't help. So then I had quite a bit of a fall off, I think, pace-wise. I had a feeling anyway. And I also thought that the race would be 70 minutes instead of 50, so I took way too much fuel. I don't know what happened there. But in the end, it was actually quite fun. I had a really good fun with battle with Luke, I think his name is, right?
Yeah.
So that was good fun. I don't know why he all of a sudden went into the pit. He had just passed me, so that was a bit of a strange event.
Yeah, we were a little bit confused about that as well. So
I'm not quite sure if he planned to go for rain tires or if he just had too little fuel. I don't know how long his pit stop was, if it was over 30 seconds, but otherwise it was probably just fuel. But good fun. A bit of an unexpected rain at the end, but enjoyed myself. So
fantastic. And have you got any plans for the mid-season before we start up with the GT4 championship again?
Not yet. I haven't really looked at the schedule. Planning on doing something, but I don't know what. I'm actually gonna enjoy having some time off on the double week event. So I'll see what I'll do. I'll probably do something or one of the things that is probably bi-weekly. To have some time off for the family as well. Yeah,
definitely good to keep a nice balance. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for
my pleasure.
A great season, and we look forward to seeing you again in future races.
You will. No worries.
All right. Then,
enjoying it too much. Frank. Yep. Thanks. Bye.
All right then. Bye now. So. That is our season finished. What did you think of that, Ryan?
Yeah, it was a good season. Good season with plenty of battles at most of every round this season, and I think plenty of battles, not just up at the front but further back in the field as well. And I think. Again, the numbers were a little low tonight, but it didn't stop the racing being really good, and it was good to watch. And Andrew Richardson with the first challenge and taking the win, and Richard Pixley, bless his soul, he sounded a bit dejected after that because he came so close. But I think I have to agree that the Porsche came and the round here just it just seemed to suit this style of track, and it seemed to pay off. But still, I think Richard Pixley, he's one of those drivers that I think I've just got a feeling that he's got that kind of he's got that championship winning mentality in him. If he can just get down, keep his head down and grind out results, and I think he could be one to watch with regards to winning a championship.
Yeah, definitely. So let's. There was a couple of hints during our interviews of our upcoming races. So we are about to share all of the scoop with you. So. From our standard events this week, coming up on Thursday, we've got our SSRI Race Room WTCC Race 7 from the Slovakia Ring. That is going to be Thursday starting at about 6:30 UK time. And then we had a mention of our endurance series, season 2. So we have race 3 coming up on Saturday the 13th of May, and that is going to be the 8 hours of Imola. Absolutely fantastic track. Really, really great for endurance racing. So that will be fantastic to watch as well. And then we are starting our mid-season sort of new championships that we've got while running in the background while we're waiting for GT3s and GT4s to kick off again. So the first is the SSRI 1.9 hour Spring Cup. This is going to be a bi-weekly race happening on Friday that's replacing our old 2.4 hour series. It is going to be a driver swap, but for the die-hard drivers out there will also be solo entries allowed. So could be really, really fascinating to see how teams do versus the solo drivers. So that should be really, really interesting to watch. That's going to be coming up on Friday's first race, being Friday the 19th at Watkins Glen. Then we have our SSRI Stay Classy series. Again, this is a bi-weekly series going to be happening on Tuesdays. And this is going to be a mixed GT3, GT4 sprint series. So combining the two classes together, always makes for some really, really interesting racing. Seeing how GT3s and GT4s share the track space together with such a difference in pace. Really, really good fun to watch. That is going to be on Tuesdays. First race kicks off on May 16th at the brand new released Valencia track that was dropped with the 1.9 DLC update that we've been talking about so much this evening. And finally, we have the SSRI Mix It Up Cup. This is going to also be on Tuesdays, alternate Tuesdays, and this is for the more diverse content enthusiast, quote unquote. So this is a series where you drive a different fixed car for each round. So all the drivers are going to be in identical machinery, so this is all going to be down to driver and setup alone. So first race is going to be May 23rd at Silverstone in the Lamborghini ST, and quite a challenging car to drive. I've driven the Lamborghini ST for my very first MFR season. Don't be fooled by the fact that it's a little bit slow. It is a little bit of a handful as well, so that is going to be really, really good fun. It looks like it's going to be a multi-race event, a 20-minute sprint followed by a 30-minute second race. So that's going to be kicking off May 23rd. So plenty of racing in the meantime. So be sure to keep an eye on our Discord channel, be on YouTube, and make sure that you have hit the subscribe and notifications so that you hear about all of the races that are going to be coming up. And be sure to sign up, get involved with our new championships that are going to be coming out. But that is it for us this evening. Ryan, it's been a pleasure commentating with you again for the GT4 season. I will be definitely commentating both GT4s and GT3s next season when they come around, because it is great fun to be able to sit back and watch all of the action as it unfolds on track. So I am Sam Pierce, and it's been fantastic you guys joining us, and we look forward to seeing everyone soon.